My name is Gary Van Wyck and I'm the curator of Shangaa, Art of Tanzania. This exhibition is the first exhibition of Tanzanian art in the United States, and it's also the first conducted and displayed in the English language. The word Shangaa is a Swahili word meaning awesome or astounding or amazing, all of the aesthetic qualities that great art contains. It should awe us, astound us and amaze us. And indeed, the objects in this exhibition do precisely that. Swahili is the lingua franca spoken in Tanzania, which is a very diverse culture containing more than 120 ethnic and language groups. Having one language unite the country has helped to maintain peace between the many different ethnic groups, some of which are featured in this exhibition. Tanzania was colonized by Germany, so many of the finest pieces from the 19th century are actually in German museums and also in museums of neighboring countries, such as Austria, Hungary and Czechoslovakia. One of the masterpieces from a German museum is this beautiful iron bull from the Kingdom of Karagwe. This was actually part of the royal regalia of the Kingdom of Karagwe and was made under the instruction of King Ndagara in about 1820s or 1830s. What's fascinating about the iron bull is that it unites two important symbols of the two different peoples that were unified in the Kingdom of Karagwe. The bull was a sacred symbol of the herding peoples who came to settle by the coast of the higher kingdom. There, the indigenous people were famous for iron making. So the unification of iron and the cattle symbol is a perfect unification to symbolize a united kingdom. In Tanzania, as in many African countries, physical and spiritual ailments, as well as psychological problems, are normally treated by a doctor diviner who combines the functions that we separate in our own Western and psychological and even spiritual practices. On this exhibition, we look at many different objects made and used by diviners, and also concentrate on the creative ability of diviners to invent new figures to address particular social, individual, psychological and spiritual problems. This object on my right is a quere enthroned gourd. It takes the form of a chair or a throne, and inset into the seat of it is a gourd which would contain medicine, surmounted by a stopper in the form of a female ancestor. On top of the throne is another female ancestor who oversees the entire ensemble. The gourd is a symbol of the matriline. Many of the peoples of coastal Tanzania are matrilineal, and the gourd is a symbol of the female line that continues to grow and branch and fruit almost endlessly. So the container itself, the gourd, has symbolic value. It points to female ancestors. The stopper would be made from sacred wood, taken from a tree growing in a sacred grove. So again, the wood itself imparts spirituality and power to the object. An object such as this would therefore be an immensely powerful witness that could oversee women's initiations, the installation of a chief, or other major social ceremonies. Many of the objects on the exhibition were collected during the German colonial period. In 1905, there was a major rebellion in Tanzania called the Maji Maji Rebellion. Maji means water, and the rebellion was led by a powerful spiritualist who said that he had the medicine that would turn the Germans' bullets to water. That didn't work out, and tens of thousands of people died directly in the rebellion or as a result of the aftermath. Many of the objects in this exhibition carry that history with them. For example, we have on exhibit a drawing of chained convicts captured as a result of the rebellion. In fact, convict labor replaced slaves in the colonial state. And so this process of disciplining, punishing, and convicting people was vital to the colonial economy. Tanzanian cultures have never been isolated. Since at least 900 AD, the coast of Tanzania was in contact with the Arabian Peninsula, and via that traded farther afield to India and to China. The Tanzanians have always looked at each other and at outsiders and represented them. And throughout the exhibition we have many different examples of this. One tremendous set of objects that speak to this are from the Makonde people of Mozambique and southern Tanzania. Their helmet masks from the mid-20th century show a number of different social types and outsiders. We see here a Maasai warrior painted turquoise and distinguished by his long pigtails. We see a Sikh from India. We see a Portuguese captain, a Portuguese trader who has a gold tooth, and on the far side a beautiful portrait of an old European man. The high degree of realism that we see in Makonde masks is a result of the carvers working for Christian clients, initially carving objects for churches and chapels and private devotional objects. And because their Portuguese and European clients preferred realism, carvers learned to create this high degree of portraiture-like realism, which we see in these objects. Many Tanzanian cultures, but not all, practice initiation for young men and young women on the verge of adulthood. And it's in the context of initiation often that masks are created that help to educate the young people and also are used in the graduation ceremonies for entertainment. Included here are two masterpiece masks from the Berlin Museum of Ethnography. The one with breasts would have been worn on the torso and danced by men to honor women, especially their mothers, but also female ancestors. The flat mask on top represents a female ancestor with a lip plug and ornamental earrings. We can immediately tell that this is a spirit and not intended as a portrait because the mask is so abstracted. It has a spiritual power just in the way that it has altered the normal appearance of a female ancestor. What I've tried to do in the exhibition is to include both historical objects from the 19th century and objects that are much more recent. And the reason for this is to show that Tanzanian cultures are living cultures, that the art forms and traditions are continuing today, and that new inventions continue to be made to address changing circumstances. So the mask below is actually from a female initiation society, and women would create these mud masks for their own secret initiation ceremonies as a counterpart to the wooden masks that are more public and are danced and used by male initiates. The largest population group in Tanzania are the Sukuma, and so too in the exhibition they represent the largest section. Sukuma arts are particularly interesting because they are really designed for public competitions, and therefore they tend to be large and expressive and designed to communicate over large distances. During these public ceremonies, different troops compete against each other, hoping to win the competition, which is decided by popular crowd approval. So the more dramatic and interesting the sculptures, the better the chance of winning. But one additional aspect is the inclusion of secret medicines that help to empower the objects and also to upset your competitors and their performances. So in objects such as these, there are often hidden cavities where medicines might be inserted. This pair of figures here is fairly typical of the dramatic power and potential of Sukuma competitive sculptures. You can see that they have movable arms and that they have a dynamic interaction that can be exploited by dancing with the figures in provocative ways. Normally, discussing sexuality is taboo, but during harvest festivals and special ceremonies, that topic can be humorously acted out by figures such as these. Another wonderful pair of Sukuma figures are these guardian plinths that would have stood at the entrance to a sacred precinct. They were collected in the 1960s in the Mwanza area near Lake Victoria, and in the background we have a photograph from around 1900 of a similar pair of objects installed at a ceremonial area, flanked, you can see, by large poles on which the skulls of felines have been inserted, also signs of great power. We know that the Makonde have used animal masks for more than 100 years. One of the highlights of the exhibition is a mask of a hare from the Leipzig Museum, collected in 1906. The Makonde would hire or even sell such animal masks to neighboring peoples, so they're also collected among the Yao and Makua and others. While we don't know a great deal about how those historic masks were used, apart from the fact that they were danced at harvest celebrations and at initiations, we do also have on exhibition the masks that surround me here, which are from a new genre of Makonde animal masks, invented in 1994 by a known artist, Martin Manjibula Jackson. He invented these in response to current events, and these animal masks have been danced since, both in southern Tanzania and in northern Mozambique. And on the exhibition we have film of all of these 4 animal masks here dancing in situ, both in Tanzania and in Mozambique. The qualities of specific animals are used to parody and critique their behaviors, so we can use animals to discuss human behavior. Perhaps the most famous object of Tanzanian art is this object here, referred to as a Nyamwezi throne and a treasure of the Berlin Museum. Research that I conducted for this exhibition puts those ideas in question. In Tanzania, stools and chairs like this were not made so much to sit on as they were witnesses for important ceremonial events. And most often, people conducting ceremonies and people being initiated would actually stand on stools to undergo a change of status. This object has been interpreted as an ancestor reaching from behind to protect the chief who would be seated on the chair. That certainly seems, according to my research, to be an incorrect idea. Rather, this object, judging from the style of the stool below, was actually collected in central Tanzania among the Kimbu people. And in that region, thrones with male and female figures on them and freestanding figures were most likely used during rainmaking ceremonies. So this object of regalia is not about the power of the chief, it's probably connected with ideas of rain and fertility.